Hello, CyberMaster fans. Thank you for seeing us at another show. This is Ed Notella, your technology podcaster, with my special guest, Rick Navone. You've seen us podcast a couple of times. This is a technology show that takes the difficulty out of all these complicated conversations about technology. We are professional cybermasters, and we simplify all this conversation.
Yeah,
so
don't
you
try this stuff
understand
at home. We're professionals.
what's going on. As you see people talk about tech, there's so many issues out there. There's so many conversations. We're the guys who are going to make it fun, entertaining, something you talk about at the dinner table. You know, even you can bring it up to your grandma. Hey, grandma, I know this is the latest technology, but did you hear about this? Because the fact is, Rick, technology touches everybody pretty much these days.
Sure.
Whether you're 0 years old or you're 100 years old, technology is somewhere
I've
inside
said it before, I'll say it again. In about 100 years from now, people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they're going to be revered as like the next gods.
Wow, yes.
People in the future are going to look at them and like call them the Messiah, you know. Like
Messiah.
They're going to have churches, you know, where you go pray to, these people.
Well, I mean,
that's how much they changed the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, think about it. The insight that these people had, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
You know, how were they able to reach into their psyches and have the confidence to do what they've done?
All the big companies back in the early days of computing, like HP and IBM.
I'll put your mic a little closer if you don't mind. Mm-hmm.
Sure. They thought that selling the PCs was all important, right? Mm-hmm. And Gates turns around and says, "Hey, would you guys mind if I sold that MS-DOS thing, like off on the side?"
Yeah.
And they laughed at him and like, "Yeah, do whatever you want, kid." Yeah. And that became a thing. And how he got so big was he gave away what he couldn't sell.
Right. I guess many people, I assumed everyone knew the Bill Gates story of how he was just this programmer guy and kind of IBM gave away what they had and he turned it into a multi-trillion-dollar enterprise.
The first 3 versions of Windows, you could just put all ones in the activation code and it would just activate. Windows Server, Windows NT, just put all ones in. And, so he gave away what he couldn't sell. And so they became the de facto standard. They become the operating system that got installed because Linux was still kind of complicated for the regular person. Windows, you just stuck a CD and ran the setup and boom.
Sure. Before that, the colleges were running early versions of Linux operating systems. And it was kind of really completely unwieldy compared to where it is now. But let me go on here. We have an exciting show.
A lot for you
We're going to be talking about the best inventions of 2021 by Time Magazine.
Yeah, we'll let you guys decide.
We're gonna only touch upon a couple of items. I think there's 100 on the list. We'll probably go through about 15 or 20. Really exciting stuff. Even as techno guys did not know this existed. Secondly, we're going to be talking about some 5 really important noteworthy hacks that took place in the last 3 to 4 months.
And we're also going to talk about the first ever cyber attack that was ever documented against our country from a KGB paid German dude.
Yes, a great story. Yep. Really, I can't wait to hear that story actually, because books have been written about it. It's incredible. Yeah. And then we're gonna end the show with a really important segment where Rick and I are gonna be talking about what is it gonna take to become a cybersecurity specialist. A lot of people come and ask us, how do I get into computers?
What are the certifications?
But now, now you're in computers, you're a tech. How do you grow and become a cybersecurity specialist?
How do you get from here to there?
Yeah, and we're gonna give you about 9 tips or tricks from a great resource. We'll pull it up. We'll talk about it. Yep. Really give you something to think about when you look at this stuff.
Good stuff.
And thank you for coming. We really look forward to an interaction. This is an interactive show. We did a pilot program for a few shows, and we've just kicked off our new channel. We're looking forward to really growing something big here. I want to introduce a couple of people that are in the studio besides myself and my special guest, Rick.
Yes, we have some good friends with us.
And you want to introduce your friends first?
Yeah. Well, they're all my friends now.
Well, of course. But we'll leave the best.
Okay. I'm gonna start off with our good friend Scott Arena.
Scott Arena. Excellent.
The great renowned bass player of Long Island and thereabouts.
Yes.
Yeah.
An engineer with extreme experience and.
Yep.
And I believe you worked in broadcasting for many years, which is
He's going to become our announcer.
Going to hopefully become our announcer. He's got that deep voice.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm sorry, when I first moved to this country, it's going to date me again. But if you remember the monster truck exploding video. So when I was a kid, there was no internet. My parents used to take me to the Nassau Coliseum to take monster truck races.
Yeah.
And he used to do the commercials for them. So produce them. So really awesome.
Yeah.
Very memorable. Especially my friends I grew up with in Port Washington. If you remember those videos, he was the guy, you know. So excellent. And please introduce your other guests.
Hassan Kumar. My former student of mine, really super guy. Just we've been cooking up. He's actually works at the same company I work at.
Wow,
different locations, but same company.
Sure, they're the global company.
But he's Scott and Hassan are both former students of mine.
Oh boy,
so.
And they're here to talk about it
later on.
They survived to speak about it on the show.
We're saving the best for last. We're going to have them join the conversation toward the end of the show. Pull the camera back a little bit.
Please, absolutely. And excellent. And you brought your friend. You want to introduce Luis Perez? Hey, how are you?
Hey.
And
you said you're in the restaurant business.
Yeah, I'm in the restaurant business. I came.
By the time you leave tonight, you realize you're going to be a cybersecurity professional, right?
I'm learning.
So for all,
much already.
That's
for
awesome.
Prior to the show,
all cybersecurity experts, especially the high-end ones like us, will tell you one thing. I live for food, so I can't wait to talk about food and see a restaurant. And our goal is to work so we can dine in fine places.
Well, that's what I said in an interview one time. They say, what's the guiding thing that you bring to the table? And I said, well, I really don't want to starve to death. So I think I used that with you, and I got the job.
Yes. Well, yes, humor played a big role in there. So it kind of all
with us, you think
it all clicked very, very nicely. So Rick, you want to talk about the best inventions of 2021? I want to jump right into that segment.
Yeah.
I'm extremely excited to tell our guests here. And I'm going to pull up the URL. You'll see it. I recommend spend your own time on it. It's going to tell you what's happening in the future here. If Time Magazine is impressed with these inventions, it's something to look at if you haven't already.
Everybody's heard of that the device you can get on Amazon where you could hook it up to your phone. Same idea, and being able to do a sonogram of your heart. There is a company out there. They are called Caption AI, and what they do is they have a piece of software. Can detect even more things.
Okay. I think we had a little audio problem. If we could just restart here for a moment when we did the flip. No, that's all right. We just messed a couple moments here. If you could talk about that one just at the end there a little bit more. We missed a little bit of audio there on the last item. The sonogram made simpler. Excellent invention. Please continue.
A company called Caption AI makes a piece of software that can actually do a sonogram of your heart and detect several different conditions like rheumatic heart disease, which kills about 1.5 million people annually. All right, and a lot of poor countries don't have this kind of technology; they can't afford it. This is an app that goes on a phone, and you just, I guess, put something on your chest.
On your chest, like a device or something interacts
with. An
with.
ultrasound of your heart.
Okay.
And the software, like, forget about the doctor. You can save the sonogram to bring to your doctor. But in some of these third world countries, they don't even have access to a doctor. So when they come in, and let's say the medical ships come in,
yes,
and they're triaging hundreds of patients,
you could have so much faster turnaround.
Exactly.
Oh boy. Wow.
And sort people immediately, triage people, so, get people that need help to the doctor as quickly as possible.
That's incredible. Let me jump back here. Something that excited me, which was the OrCam read. All right, so making text audible with the OrCam read. Okay, so take a look at this website first. This is Time Magazine's website for the best inventions of 2021. You'll see there's a full list you can click on there that takes you through the sections you can see there. One of the first items you'll see is this very guy here, making text audible. So this is a little device that you literally browse over text and it reads it out to you. Now, it does pretty much a decent job, near perfect. It's about $2,000.
Well, I know. I tell you, this is close to my heart.
Please.
Because my ex-wife, who I'm still extremely close with, my son's mom, her mom, my ex-mother-in-law, she basically lost her sight. She loved to read. Like, reading was her thing, and she couldn't read anymore. So this kind of thing would be really great for someone that had macular degeneration, like she did.
Sure.
And allow her to be able to read books and continue that love that she had for reading.
That's incredible. Look at the way they're saying the OrCam read for 1990 can read any piece of text aloud.
Yep.
Comprehension difficulties, poor vision, dyslexia, any other issues, and I believe it's able to be ordered now.
Yeah.
So something to take a look at. Time Magazine's last year's inventions. Pretty awesome stuff there. Want to jump into the artificial intelligence section here, which is the second area here with the Nvidia Omniverse. Right, pretty exciting stuff.
What's an Omniverse? Is that a one verse?
It's yes, compared to a dual verse or a triverse. But Nvidia happens to be one of the biggest names in the world for technology. They make those cards that accelerate video graphics, do Bitcoin, GPUs, streaming, you name it.
Graphic processors.
Virtual worlds are more for just gaming. They're coming up with this infrastructure. It's called NVIDIA's Omniverse, which is extreme hardware to bring graphics to an extremely high level.
Yeah, I mean, the games today, the realism of some of these games is just astounding. I mean, I grew up playing Doom and Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah, not a lot of 3D
you
there.
got this way. You move
that was early
way,
3D, guys.
It was, and now it's I watch my son play these games. It's I don't need. It's like you're interacting with real people in a real world.
Yes.
It's just and frame rates. Like 150 frames per second.
Higher than that.
You can't. I'm going to tell you, you can't even see. Your eye cannot see anything more than 15 frames per second.
Now hold on. I love being in VR. They're promising us a photorealistic 3D world once we're on this hardware. I mean, talk about VR before, on crack. I believe them. They've kind of been leading the way here. Something to follow. NVIDIA's Omniverse. Read Time Magazine. I mean, they cared about it. I mean, they're not going to... and huge brand, very very exciting. Definitely would look at that guy.
It's from Nvidia. You really got to take it seriously.
It's from Nvidia, exactly. Adobe Super Resolution. Why is that important?
I don't know.
Because we have now excessive real-time resolution right out of our iPhones.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'll be able to take. What does that mean? Did you guys see Blade Runner, the first version, when he took the picture and he zoomed in all the way into like different part.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting. Extreme high-end bit rates here, guys.
This
right?
was available several years ago with digital like sonograms and MRIs. You think about an MRI. An MRI is like a scan of your body, and it takes slices, pictures, right? So it goes to radiologist. The radiologist looks at the study, and then writes his or her impressions about what they see, about what this patient is going through, what their recommendations are. The resolution of each one of those slices is like 8,000 by 8,000, 10,000 by 10,000, pixels. Whereas like your average picture that you see on on Facebook or something like that, it's like like a couple of hundred by a couple of hundred, right? So it gives the doctor the ability to zoom in on a particular spot that they're looking at
and really get
really see it.
Yeah,
and so that's like basically, it seems like the Adobe super resolution thing is like making a little bit more accessible to the general public what's been in radiology for a couple of years now.
The reason I'm extremely excited for it is a couple of things. I've realized through meditation, spiritual awareness, one of the interesting things that's happening is some spiritual leaders say that the formation of water molecules will look different based on the mood that's happening. I wonder, as I'm able to get even higher end resolution products and microscopes to actually prove that out, does the molecular structure of water based on your mood actually alters what they're saying? So
I don't know, it's kind of like the quantum theory that
the observer
the observer changes what they're observing by observing it.
Yes. And now if you've seen the documentaries on that, they have these machines that turn off random clock machines, and they did this experiment where they had this square room, and they put a plant in the corner and a light in the center of the room, and turned on this auto generator, and it for some reason always shined mostly towards that corner where that plant was. So there's something to all that quantum physics stuff, That's all right. I'll be lucky if we have time.
I know, right?
For a lot more of this.
Time Magazine's hitting us up for $19.95 to continue our subscription.
They definitely want us to. Time Magazine is looking for subscription. All these places are. We're not. We have full-time jobs. We're here to share with you the knowledge we've built over all these years. Yep. But let's just scroll down this a little bit. Exciting apps and software. MTA Live Subway Map, really important. You see where you are live on that map. Now, there's been subway maps to actually see yourself moving down the thing. Is pretty exciting. I don't know. I really like that invention. The 911 alternative, where you're calling local police departments as opposed to 911 and waiting. Pretty big invention, actually. Believe it or not fully resolved in cellular until these days. There's a lot coming that. Augmented reality, super important. You're about to see in Q4 augmented reality really hit the wall, right? You're going to see Apple come out with the AR glasses. They are super, super cool. If there's a line to be waited on, I'll be waiting on that line.
And like
which means
else,
that my maps will come up in my lenses while I'm driving.
Like anything else, it'll be kind of expensive when it first comes out, but then the price will start leveling off.
They look super, super cool,
Cooler than my glasses?
Yeah, they look a little different. They're a little more Apple-y. Look like, you could take a look. We'll pull it up and talk. When that comes out, we'll be playing with it and talking about it. So augmented reality, overlaid computer on your eyeball. Love what's going on there. Really big deal. Lots of connectivity. Intelligent Buzzwell, something to know about.
Did you see the robot?
Let's talk about the robot, and we'll end at the robot there. What section was that under again? Do you recall?
Compassionate Companion.
Okay.
An 8-year-old girl in Armenia had barely eaten for days when they brought in Robin the robot. Interesting.
Robin, okay.
Yeah,
I'm still looking for this. There's hundreds of devices that are coming out here.
Because kids, they
Here we go.
love tech, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the little robot, right?
Okay.
So after 20 minutes of discussing, the girl's favorite animals and playing a game of I Spy, Robin says goodbye to the little girl, making her promise to eat, and of course she started eating. So I am so against kids getting too much technology. I think kids should go play outside and get dirty and ride bikes and stuff like that.
Well, now the robot will tell you.
But that's
What the
cool.
hell are you
If
doing
they make a
indoors?
robot that can ride a bike, that would be kind of cool. But that's
But
only
wait a minute.
generation
When
away,
AI
maybe.
goes bad, at that point, imagine that robot overheats and doesn't let you back in the house.
Well, I mean,
play outside.
I mean, isn't that the problem? The whole preface for
Skynet.
the Terminator and everything, right? What happens when you've got a machine that's so smart and it doesn't want you to turn it off?
That's a very scary.
Yeah, stay outside, go play. All right.
If Arnold's still around, we should be,
Yeah, I mean that's some scary stuff though if you think about
Can I
it.
take it on the other end and say that what if that's better so we could focus on more pleasurable things?
Well, I think that's the idea. People like Elon Musk, pushing for, us to have, chips embedded in our brains to make us smarter. I know Kung Fu. That, he really wants to do that. But on the good side of that kind of technology is something me and Ed were talking about earlier, that they've got these implants that they just invented last year.
Yes.
And people that are learning how to use robotic arms, replacement arms for limbs that they've lost. The chip in the head actually helps them learn how to use that robotic limb in minutes instead of weeks.
Yes, that's training.
Amazing. Imagine you'd be walking in a few minutes instead of going through physical therapy for
6 months of training with that device. Exactly.
That's an amazing thing.
That's a beautiful.
But where does it stop? Where does it stop? That's the question.
Yeah.
When do we fear becoming a Borg? From Star Trek or something like that.
Well, isn't that a personal opinion? Because I'll be honest with you, if you're I wouldn't mind a couple of implants. You know what I mean?
Okay, but what happens when
I leave it up to the imagination.
what happens when you no longer can be technically classified as being purely biological?
That's
You
subjective
put in a new
anyway.
organ, right?
Some people think we live in a virtual reality anyway. How do you know we're really organic anyway?
Well, we are in the Matrix, right? We could be in the Matrix. There we go again.
Nah, man.
For years, he's been trying to convince me we're actually in the Matrix.
Well, I don't know. Who knows? It's possible. But to be
You
honest,
you can't refute it. That's the
Yes.
problem. It could be really happening.
hold on. We grew up watching The Bionic Man. I wanted to be the Bionic Man.
I know, right? You wanted to get in a
Run all
horrible
slow
crash
and shit with the
and have
background
two new
music.
legs
I always
attached to you.
wanted background music while I'm running slow. Hold on. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know Bionic Man?
The $6 million man.
All right.
Lee
So
Majors.
if you're born after 90 something,
Yeah, you're not going to know that.
there was this really famous actor. What was his name, Scott?
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors. Okay.
The night the
Okay.
reindeer died.
Scott will be our specialist with all
the movie
facts,
Scrooged?
big and small.
I was born in 1990.
Okay.
And I never watched the movie.
I got shoes
Really?
all day.
Oh man. Oh wow.
So, I mean, I got
Okay.
messed up.
Okay.
My
Got your nose.
dad,
I love it. I love it. All right, yes.
You know how I know about it? Is because of Family Guy. Because they made.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You know how many people know about old shows from Family Guy, dude? It's totally.
I see a couple of people have joined the
Yes,
chat.
yes.
Please type,
Hey,
type
Chris, how
away
you
and send
doing?
us some messages.
Yeah.
Make them
Lindsay
happy
Wagner, the Bionic Woman. Now,
Yeah, Lindsay Wagner had a crush on
now
her.
I
Oh
didn't
my
want to
God.
talk about that because I'm going to blush. Okay.
Well,
But
now my present
it's
girlfriend
possibly
looks a lot like
Chris. The first girl I had a crush on was Wonder Woman.
Wonder
Was it
Woman.
really?
Wonder
I
Woman. You
think
like
so.
the dark hair
I
girls?
think so.
I always went
Listen,
for
when
the
you're a little
blondes.
kid, I learned to speak English watching those shows, and Wonder Woman was like this You know, I mean, look what they did. You know,
She was wondrous.
She was wondrous with that outfit. I mean,
Yeah.
who wears outfits
What
like
was-
that?
I was
Xena?
I
You
was
know?
more into I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden.
Yes,
You know, that
yes.
was my personal favorite.
Well, that's when you have to be a little older because that's from like this. They did that one in
yeah.
black and white. I remember.
I look good for 104
First
years
season.
old, don't I? I don't.
But
Nah,
yes.
Not
yes,
even Nick at Night. Let me tell you, man. Not even.
But guys,
Disneyland.
but
That's
but-
where you can see a lot of this.
So
stuff.
let me ask you
You
something.
guys never saw it like F Troop or anything
Yeah.
like that, right?
So I just want to do a little spot for Time Magazine.
They're like looking at me like, what?
I don't know. Time Magazine's been around for a long time, and they're still in the game talking about these cool inventions. What a great publication, you know, and they put some wacky stuff on the covers sometimes. People don't always agree, but
They're
don't.
not getting my 1995 though.
They can have my $20 plus tax,
All right.
depending on the
He's
state
gonna
you're
pay
in, of
for it.
course. Yes.
Yeah.
Time
They should give it.
Magazine.
They should give it to us for free.
Yes.
Well, if you guys want to advertise, please feel free to provide this.
Yes, please advertise. You can advertise. Time Magazine must advertise, of course, you know. And if maybe we'll playing old reruns of Wonder Woman while I'm alone here at night. So I think the show show must go on.
Yeah, I think
the
it's
show
time for us
must
to
go
talk
on.
about,
Okay.
ransomware
I'm supposed to be
attacks.
really serious. You went from this interesting topic of what's
But
going
we're
on.
having fun.
Well, we're having fun.
We're having fun, and this is what
Okay.
it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun.
All right, so on the next scene, I had it where I'm going to zoom in on my head to talk about these cyber things. So we're going to try to be serious.
There's
for
nothing
5
more we'd
seconds,
like
all
to
right?
see.
All right, so let's try to be serious for a few moments here.
Let's see the resolution.
In today's news, the 5 ransomware attacks in 2022 so far you should all know about. Pretty important stuff here. Let me go into
Well,
that
what's a
lead.
ransomware attack?
Ransomware attack, as you know, is when hackers throw up they steal your data and they give you a splash screen while you're working saying, if you give me some bitcoins, we will give you back your data. That has matured in many different ways. The maturity in the last year or two was not only do they want your money to give you your data back, they now will say, we'll put your data out on the dark web for everyone
Well,
to
let's
copy
quantify
if
this
you
for a
don't
second, because
need it back.
They're asking to be paid in Bitcoin, which
Mm-hmm.
is electronic, a digital currency, right? That can't be tracked, groovy, right? In 2021, the average cyber attack asked for 20 bitcoins. Now, what's the current rate for bitcoins?
I think it's 65,000.
Oh, come on, we all have it.
I think
on
it's
our-
65,000.
Bitcoin.
I don't even know, 40,000.
45 to 60, I think.
Bitcoin right now at the present time is trading at
$39,000.
$600.
20 of them.
Okay, now, if they want 20 of those, that turns into some real money, right? It's like $600,000. By 2031, they estimate that it's going to be 265 bitcoins. Is going to be the average take for one of these attacks.
Well, good thing the dollar's going down in value.
Well, yeah.
I mean, what else
you
am
have
I
to
going to
look at the
say?
bright
to
side,
that? Look
right?
at the
You
bright
have to
side.
look at the Thank you, Joe Biden.
In other words, my barbecue pictures from last night.
Yo, that's a really good.
You know what?
Yeah.
Well,
You know what? And then that's a good point. So, before I turn
But they're your barbecue
multi-factor...
pictures.
So before I turn multi-factor authentication on, which is the code to let me to my cameras.
Yeah.
Maybe the hackers were watching me. I was like, listen, maybe they give me some advice. Is my dog okay while I'm not watching the camera? I don't know.
But what happens when it's your company? You work for a
Yes.
company. That company's maybe worth like 30 million a year. You lose your data, you're out of business, and
Precisely.
they're holding your data hostage.
Yeah.
And it comes in through an employee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So an employee is just sitting there. He's attached to the network. He's connected to a couple of servers.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he gets hit, and now it's your business that went down.
Ah,
There's 250
nice.
people in this building that can't go to work tomorrow.
Well, there's a difference between Scott's barbecue pictures
that's
and the financial data for $1 billion
that's
client,
exactly
of course.
right. That's exactly
You
right.
they may have been at your barbecue, but the point is, somebody's got to take it more seriously.
So-
but hold on. How true is it that same guy who owns that billion-dollar company will go home and not secure his data?
Well, here's the question. This stuff is not a question, it's a statement.
Yes.
This stuff is not going to stop because right now, in parts of the world like Russia and China, you've got very talented IT people who know how to commit these crimes, okay? And they're eating gruel for dinner. They have no access to anything. They're poor as dirt. So they know if they hack you and they can get 1 Bitcoin out of you, they become the mayor of their town with 1 Bitcoin.
That's true. That's true.
They're in a studio.
There's every reason in the world for them to do this.
I see my cousins from Pakistan.
Yes.
That are slaving themselves, more knowledgeable than me, but making dirt on the dollar.
So hold on a second. Let's talk about this a second because we've painted the picture here over the last 4 months that a hacker is a wealthy guy getting all this money with Mercedeses and all that.
I think the people who are really wealthy in IT, in computer, are people who are doing porn.
But let's so hold on a second. Hold on. The point I'm making is that we painted the picture that hackers are these high-end guys. The hacker community has grown to large factions of poor people who are trying to just get that 1 Bitcoin. And like Rick said, all of a sudden you become a huge success in that region. They're fighting each other over it.
Yeah, I mean,
them stealing means feeding their families sometimes.
Exactly.
But you know how fortunate we are? Like, I'm fortunate to be living here and doing IT.
In America, sure.
Versus Pakistan.
Oh, yeah.
Because my cousin does, Google ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They pay dirt on the dollar.
Right.
But
So he's breaking his ass all day long
for no reason.
for like $25 a day.
Exactly.
It's-
Like pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean? And it's bad, but he's more confident than me. You know what I mean?
I think it's relative to where you live too.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, like over there, $25 a day might be a living wage.
True.
That might be
The
we don't know.
expensive living, exactly.
Probably eat for the rest of the month.
So let's talk about that. So you've got some wealthy individuals who have done the Guccifer and Iceman stuff. You've got large factions of people who are in the poor community just trying to make a buck, and then you have your middle ground with regular guys who know a little bit, just enough to be dangerous, like they tell me. You know what I mean? So let's say some of these interesting attacks that took place.
Yeah, let's go through some of these.
One of them was Bernalillo County in New Mexico.
I was wondering how you were going to pronounce that.
I think I did a pretty good job.
I think you did a great job.
You know?
Yeah, because I'm looking at it, I couldn't have said it.
In New Mexico, discovered data breach on January 5th of this year, right at the beginning. Ransomware demands were put in, and pretty much things went haywire from there. The ramifications including closing down the government buildings, blocking of all the jail camera feeds, and the entrapment of inmates due to failure of automatic door gates
And the
opening and
county
whatnot.
received $2 million in recovery funds approved by the county commissioners. So that got funded by the government, like tax money. for
Yes,
these
yes.
people.
So you're telling me that the taxpayers
They paid for
paid because that wasn't secure in that case.
Okay.
Very interesting there.
Is-
But aren't all us taxpayers paying for the government's fallouts when they get hacked?
Well, we had this conversation a couple of years ago when we were talking about cybersecurity insurance. Right? It's something that we were involved with selling to a couple of our clients because, well, first of all, because one of them was hit with a ransomware.
Yes.
We're not going to say who it is, of course. The names were changed to protect the innocent. But the point is, I was very against it. You know, I mean, I hate the idea that you would pay these people. You're giving them incentive to do it again. So,
Yes, but
sitting
at
there
this-
having insurance ready to pay them off, they're probably sitting there. The people who perpetrate this stuff, they're sitting there going, "Well, we know that company's got cybersecurity insurance. We know if we hit them, they just go to the insurance company. We get paid. Have a nice day. Nobody's hurt. It's like a faultless crime."
That's a good point, but let me take it to another level, and this is the way they're doing it today, as you know.
About this.
We disagreed about this a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Okay, you don't want to fund these terrorists, all right, and give them basic cars that I'm driving, but at the same time, it has to be calculated.
You are driving a nice car.
Which is what you have to do. You have to calculate this. You have to say, if recovery time is going to take me a month or two, in order to serve my clients, I may have to pay that ransom. So the option has to be there, but you want to be able to recover from data.
Okay.
But Rick, look what's happening. If you don't give them the ransom money, they'll put your secrets on the dark web and share it with everybody now.
That's true. That's true. What stops that from happening? I'd rather look at it from a prevention and a recovery kind of thing.
Yes, the computer condom.
Look, maybe put on the better condom. Maybe put on maybe set up things like honeypots, which we'll talk about later.
Yes, honeypots. Important cybercrime tool.
Yeah, and we'll talk about where that whole term and the idea of a honeypot was invented. But the point I'm trying to make is you can put stuff on like out there on your network that's not real data, like meeting notes and like plan for this next thing that we're doing and what kind of pencils we're going to use at the next meeting, and just make it all look very official and like bureaucratic and everything. And have like a trap, so when someone's accessing that system, you snap the trap, you cut the network off from the internet. No problem. You ban the IP range. That person's not getting back in.
Right.
You have to think about like, okay, how does a hacker get in? How does someone actually attack this county that we just spoke about?
Right.
Where are they from? New Mexico, you said?
Yes, New Mexico, correct.
And how did someone actually get the payload inside of that network? Number one way this happens, email. Someone sends you an email, okay? It looks legit. It might be something like, hey, you Pizza Hut $10 gift card. All you have to do is let's fill out some information about, like we're an advertising company. Answer a few questions. We'll give you a $10 coupon.
They're collecting data on you long term that way.
Exactly. You ever on Facebook?
No, hold on. So it goes on. We only have an hour here. You know what I mean? You're leaned back and you're about to tell a long story.
You're right.
So let me back off here a second. I was like, wait a minute, there's a long one coming.
Yeah.
Save it.
He could tell.
Save it for the big story about the story.
Stop.
So I just want to say New Mexico. I want to say that's important because Intel is building a $4 trillion plant over there. So all this stuff's happening with a T. Take a look at what Intel is doing as a local manufacturing in that region, and now they're getting hit like that. Concerning me, what's going on there? Manufacturing for Intel, I believe they began funding for 3 locations to build plants.
Really?
And that's one of the near Rio Rancho in New Mexico is where they're putting one. And I think that's the name of it's to be looked at. And there's attacks going on actively into that scene.
I got a new word for the day.
Yeah.
Loquacious.
Got it.
So,
I have to look this up.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's go on here.
Talk the balls off a brass
That's an
monkey.
important attack. The New Mexico attack, memorable. Remember that.
Yeah.
The second big attack that took place this year is Puma.
Puma, the sneaker
company. Let's talk
company.
about Puma, okay? Sports manufacturer Puma notified of a data breach issued on January 10th of this year. Using notified by their Chronos system, right?
And what you brought up, they stole personal
information for over 6,632 of its employees. You can read right there. I'm sharing the screen. Social security numbers and encrypted data according to reports. I mean, they went nuts at Puma.
Yeah,
Now, I'll be honest with you. I haven't had a Puma sneaker since I was forced to in high school.
Yeah,
guys, you guys Pumas? Pumas are cool. I'm sorry. Pumas are chill. There you go. They still fit.
I like Keds myself, but
look at what's happening there. I mean, employee data, encrypted data all over the place. That's a big name. They were obviously hunting them down. Big deal here.
I think the next one is even more scary. Let's face it. There's a few more.
But Puma's okay. You want to talk about Hensoldt?
Hensoldt is a multinational defense contractor confirmed on January 12th of 2022 that some of its UK subsidiaries had fallen prey to a ransomware attack. The organization provides sensor solutions for defense, aerospace, and security software.
Wait till you hear this.
For such organizations as the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marine Corps, the National Guard. That's their clients.
Those are their clients.
And they got hacked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the U.S.
On January 12th, just a few months ago, the vendor who does business with the U.S. Army, Marine Corps, National Guard got their stuff taken away from them.
Now,
how is this under the radar?
It's not under the radar. You're reading it. You're hearing it on CyberMasters.
It's right here.
He's got to log into CyberMasters, and you're good to go.
You're welcome.
It's the first time for everything, guys.
I'm hearing about it. That's why I'm like, yo, go.
That's why people like CyberMasters, because hold on, he and I read and study this stuff. Like Lazarus, that group is really intense. I read about them. So Lazarus, really important. They're saying they took down Microsoft.
Yep.
7 kids from the UK, white Caucasians between the ages 16 and 20 are
White dudes.
now being pegged as the guys who are running Lazarus. Let's see. I think it's probably a small chunk of a much larger group, but let's see what they're doing.
There's that whole Homeland Security thing where they're watching people and they're tracking people, and everybody was getting, especially the libertarians among us were saying this is an invasion of our privacy. This is part of. Not that Big Brother's watching, but we have to watch our infrastructure.
Exactly.
It's to our detriment that we don't. The next one we were just talking about a few minutes ago.
No, I'm sorry I said Lazarus. I meant to say Lapsus. That's the group. Lapsus, who on February 23rd was known to hack Nvidia and take their secrets. Nvidia's got all this crazy new stuff coming out for the multiverse. Lapsus, those kids who hacked Microsoft and were arrested, are part of this gang. Literally, February 23rd this happened, guys.
1 terabyte worth of data.
Terabyte worth of data from Nvidia, guys.
None of them have a suntan.
Information that was stolen included employee credentials, proprietary company data such as source code. Not good.
On the latest technology to serve their
Not good.
Omniverse, and they're being looked at by everybody. Pretty crazy
That's
stuff.
now been coming out that's experimental.
Big one. So remember that Nvidia, and the last one, Bridgestone.
Bridgestone, the tire company.
Tire company, guys. I have Bridgestone tires, right? So Bridgestone, one of the largest
February 27th, 2022.
Just now, Lockbit ransomware gang. Despite Bridgestone's effort to mitigate the attack by disconnecting manufacturing and other facilities in North and Latin America,
Tough stuff.
network was still taken down.
Yep.
2,300. Let's see. At about midnight on March 15th, there was an announcement being made, and I don't have any details as to exactly how much was stolen, but that's a fairly big hack. Yeah. And again, huge manufacturer in the U.S. I mean, doing business with the government too.
Yeah.
I mean, employee data. Why is all these hackers going after employee data, Rick?
Well, you think about it. The HR department has got all this data, like a PII, personal identifiable information, on the people that work at the company. Mm-hmm. They usually keep that internal, and it's usually really easy to get to. Mm-hmm. Inside the IT people, like if you're collecting credit card information and information about people who are doing business with you on your website, you probably got a lot of security in place to protect the credit card information,
right.
PCI compliance and all that stuff, right? But when it comes to your company's own personal information about their employees, that's probably kept on like an Access database or some stupid thing like that, right?
The old Access database. A lot of people don't want to admit that. That's like having dirty socks under the bed,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain. How do you explain an Access database?
Yeah,
I'm sorry for you guys who have Access databases.
Yeah,
but when I come in, they see my face oh, don't tell them about
right, so,
and they're smiling at me. I'm like, oh my god, you got dirt under your foot.
Should we talk about
step in shit or something?
The first ever cyber attack?
Please.
Okay, guys, if you get a chance,
please.
This is a really cool story.
Well, actually, hold that thought because I want to pull it up when we do this.
Okay.
At the end of the show, so give me a few more minutes to get to that. I want to pull that up so you guys can actually copy and take a look at all that stuff. Just want to, on the screen, we have how to protect your organization from ransomware attack. Again, keep your software up to date, backup constantly and test, employ multiple security systems. For me to get to my accounting system currently, it's 5 different security systems. It takes me an afternoon to do accounting at this point. And use multi-factor authentication and be diligent and have a security officer who's responsible.
When you say
for
multi-factor
stuff,
authentication, let's explain that to people that might not know what that is.
Please.
Programs like Duo or 1Password. Yeah, you've got Google Authenticator too. What this basically does is when someone logs into your account, you get an alert directly to your phone, like it's called a push directly to your phone. If I log into my stuff at work, we have a two-factor authentication. It pushes a message to my phone, and I've got to, I see what it is, and I've got to say yes to it, then I get into the door. Have that on my Facebook account, my Gmail account. I've basically locked up everything with that. It's so easy. Once you have it, like what, $9.95 a month or something like that for Duo?
It's very inexpensive.
1Passwords, I think.
And it allows you to click yes on your secured items. You'll all know if you're coming in. Duo is a wonderful, wonderful
I
product.
believe Google pushes it normally.
And so if someone's like trying to log into your Google account, like in
Multiple
Indonesia or
phones.
something like that, you'll see that come up. You'll be like, no, and they can't get in, and they get locked out immediately.
I have a NAS at home. In order for me to log into my NAS.
What's the NS? Is that the singer?
Network area storage.
Oh, I love him. I love him. And Little Nas.
My
Anyway.
network area storage. And I want to log into it remotely. That's the same thing as the Duo. But it's made by the company that I bought.
I didn't know who Nas was until I had to look it up from one of my classes.
And you
to
saw
show a picture. I'm like, there's a singer called Nas?
It's Nas, by the way.
Nas?
So let's not.
Okay, listen. I'm an Iron Maiden Rush guy, okay?
That's why he says not.
That's right, exactly. So hold on, let's finish up some more hacker news. It's really interesting, and then I'd like to talk about this exciting part, which is how to become one of these guys, how to become more entrenched in cyber.
Welcome to the dark side.
Welcome to the dark side. So I just want to talk about these two really great hacker groups called Conti and Hive. I don't think enough people know exactly what these guys are doing. Let me pull that up and talk about Conti and Hive. Ransomware gangs chats with their victims. So Conti and Hive are known to be one of the most successful teams today.
Of hackers.
They're saying they're 29.1% of detected attacks going on right now. The key thing to take away from these two groups and why I'm mentioning them is because they act quite differently. One seems more like a legitimate business. Hello, I have tech support. How can I help you steal your money? And they're quite professional. They have support agents. They'll put you on hold. You know, really like a business. You know, they steal your money in the most professional way possible. Meanwhile, the other one, Conti, is more like a gang. They're like, you know, they don't really get back to you. And they're looking for the quick hits, not the long game. With the other guys that look more professional, more street. It's good to see the interaction between this Conti and Hive group. There's quite a bit more to read about them. They've really created some big attacks recently, and something to know about. The most prevalent ransomware strains in the threat landscape currently, they said they're made up of some really large groups, not just one dude, like a whole bunch of groups. It could be the guys we're talking about in combination with other dudes, you know? Not us.
No.
You know, we have to sit here and deal with the show.
We're what you call
time to hack.
We're white hat
There's no
hackers.
time to hack. You know?
We hack for the greater good of things.
Yeah. So let me just talk about this because I always felt that the connotation, I wasn't really happy with the way they describe it, and it doesn't sound good, okay? I don't like the ethics behind the words I'm about to say. There's a white hat hacker and a black hat hacker.
Remember Spy versus Spy?
And the red hat hacker.
Oh, okay.
So when I first started in computers, the internet had just came out, and my friends were sort of taking users down because it was extremely a lot of fun.
It was.
I don't know. So I remember taking, using tools. You could take people down. It's a lot of fun to see your stuff.
Over the phone line.
I felt so guilty. These doctors, these lawyers. I said, you know what? I threw the black hat in garbage, got myself a white Puma hat. Pre-hacked. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this for good. And I jumped into cybersecurity to prevent this vandalism to take over. What do you have to say?
Well, look, one of the best, one of the biggest jobs I've ever had was the IT director for a mortgage company. And I got the job by doing a security assessment for the company.
Okay.
And how I broke their security is I showed up one day I borrowed my cousin's UPS outfit.
Yes, you mentioned
I
that.
gave him a couple of $100. He was like, I can't give you my uniform. He goes, that's the company I work for. I go, how's $200? He goes, what size are you? And he hands me the uniform. I walk in with a package under my hand, addressed to one of the people there. And I said, would you mind? I'm just like the new guy, and my truck broke down, and I need to use your phone.
Yeah.
Right? So this very nice lady brings me over to one of the desks. There's a computer there, of course. I stick what's called a rubber duck
Oh my God.
into the back of the computer, into the USB drive. Now, by the time I got home, which was only a couple of miles away, I had already stolen most of the passwords and all of the admin passwords on the network. And they were sent to me through an FTP connection.
So people say, how do these places get hacked? Many times, I would be happy to say 50% of the time, we can argue the percentage, it's somebody physically putting something there that shouldn't be, breaking that information.
Or sending you something through an email, a program
That's the other
that
50%.
breaks your security, traverses across the network. Years and years ago, there was a program called Satan. It was actually written by a guy named Dan Farmer, who worked at the time for Sun Microsystems, right? He wrote this program to help network administrators identify weaknesses in their security. Well, it got out onto the internet, and before you know it, everybody's using it to break into systems.
Ah, nice.
Brilliant.
Yes, the same system.
He, of course, got fired
Yeah.
for letting it out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he becomes like a very famous, guy. He's like, believe me, he didn't hurt from losing the job.
Yeah, but look at AnyDesk, right? Such a great tool
Yeah.
used for hacking the
course.
butts off all these people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just keep going and going, That's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
So we're running a little long. I really want to talk about this section. It's a big deal. Let me just take a look at some of the things that our audience has said. Chris's friend owned a bar for 40 years. COVID-19 shut him down, out of business. Now he's getting letters in the mail
come I don't see
about
that?
hackers, and it's only paper. Any advice for my friend? I'm reading what you're sending here. I have quite a bit of advice for your friend. Let me just read this in more detail, Chris, because this is an important point. So Chris's friend, COVID shut him down. Now he's getting letters in the mail saying that the IRS, that he owes money, and he doesn't even own the bar anymore. Keep telling him not to send money checks, but he gives it to his lawyer in his account. I think they're all in on it, and he pays them. So IRS hacks and unemployment insurance hacks are by the wildfire. What you need to do, and here's my advice to your friend, and I talked to my attorneys and my financial people about that. You have to send a letter, an official letterhead, to these agencies explaining that this is a hack and this is not real. Even in our business, somebody pretended to put an insurance claim in. We wrote an official letter, and nobody ever contacted us. It went away. They're dealing with so much of this. Don't expect a call. Official letter to the agencies, and give it some time. Follow up if you have to. Good luck getting a phone call back. But we've resolved our issues with official letters, not emails. Because you got to remember, those people are still in there, working like it's the 1920s over there. You know what I mean? Exactly. You don't even know where that's going. So, just before we get into our next subject, really important thought here. I've been doing this since the mid to late 80s. Rick's been doing this before I was. Scott, these gentlemen, all different timelines. Gentlemen,
I'm really old.
I'm going to blow your mind with what I'm going to say right now, right? You're a high-end technologist. We're working in an unlicensed industry. Unlike plumbing, unlike electrician contracting, you're in an industry
You've said this.
where a 12-year-old kid who happens to be good at an iPad can set up a corporate network for his father who owns $1 billion company.
And there's no law against it.
No
There's
law against it, no policy.
no oversight.
Gentlemen and ladies, you're in a completely unlicensed Wild West industry. When you read these
So
articles,
you think this should be oversighted by the government?
I definitely believe that at some point there has to be a licensed model like all the other licensed industries. You can't have a Tom, Dick, and Harry set up a firewall for a professional business.
Well,
those clients and the employees are hurt by
In
that,
a sense,
guys,
that is set up. Okay, and we're going to talk about right now how to get into cybersecurity, how to break into it. And I've always said for many years, I said to my students, if you want to be a cybersecurity specialist, you have to do at least 10 years in the industry, because no one's going to hire a kid straight out of school to do their cybersecurity. It's not going to happen. Okay,
let's introduce what we're about to pull up and talk about Coursera. Who is Coursera?
Some bunch of blokes that we know.
They're a leading company in online education.
Learning, yes.
Online learning. Now, there's many. Online learning is an exploding industry. Now, they put together an interesting article, Is Cybersecurity Hard to Learn? But it's a wonderful guide with tips of how to learn to get there. You may be an engineer, a technician. There's a cybersecurity department, but they're so different than everybody else. How do you graduate there? How do you know it's for you, So take a look at this website. 9 tips and tricks for success. Whether cybersecurity is difficult to learn depends on your own perspective. Who are you in this, in the field, and what is it that you're trying to do? Let me just pull that up if you want to chat for a moment.
I would say that, listen, if cybersecurity is where you want to go with your career, it's a great move. I work with security people in the company I work for, and they have a fairly fun time doing their work. But it's also kind of edgy, because when something happens, they're the people who are going to get taken out in the back and put on the blindfold. You want a cigarette? Because we're going to put you up against the wall. So. To get into this,
right? Everything's fine. But the problem, all eyes on you.
Yeah,
and you're
and that's the truth. Now,
exactly.
Now, an interesting fact is, a good friend of mine who was actually I went to school with when I went to computer school, back in '94. Okay, he just recently changed over from doing desktop support, desktop builds. I don't want to say support, because it's not what he did. He was a desktop guy, but he was he built desktop deployments where, if a computer woke up in Dubai and it saw this IP address, it would know that between the name of the person who logged in and the IP address, this is the language that would go on there, this is the software that would go on.
Very high answer.
And the only way you learn what this guy Sean Hendrickson is, a good dear friend of mine, the only way you learn what Sean Hendrickson knows is if Sean Hendrickson takes a liking to you and shows you. Because what he forgot about desktop deployments, we'll never learn.
So what are you saying? He took that and went to the next level?
He went to security. A couple of years ago, over at the same company that he works for.
So the desktop guy went to security.
He changed his focus. He went from building desktop images and supporting that, those deployments. He went into security. Couple of months later, he's so good at security, he'll sit in a Starbucks and walk right through your Linksys or Netgear router right into your network.
How many years?
Take over your Windows computer and own you.
How many years did it take for him to make that transition?
Well, okay. First of all,
roughly.
Years to make the transition. It actually took him a couple of months to make the transition.
So let's see.
But he had a huge career, years and years. He's been in the business for 25 years.
So you're answering number one right off the bat. Build a foundation with introductory course.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Now take a look. Coursera says, number one, build a foundation. Okay, now he had a foundation, desktop.
A deep one.
Okay, so you have to be doing something with technology,
exactly.
Right? So if you're not involved in some kind of way, you have to get there before you build a foundation for cybersecurity, right? So introductory cybersecurity courses may cover cybersecurity tools and attack vectors, security compliance, industry standards, very big deal with compliance, right? OSs, networks, data security, incident response, penetration testing. You're talking about a pretty advanced kid who'd want to go into this, right?
Of course.
That's a serious foundation there.
Okay.
So you gotta be like, oh wow, that sounds cool.
Well, so many of my students said to me, what should I get into? As a matter of fact, Hassan, you said that to me like 3 days into school. What should I get into? What should I do? And I said to you, how could I tell you what you're going to do for the rest of your life? How can I tell you what kind of clothes to wear? How can I tell you what's right for you? I can't.
Yeah.
What I did is I showed them, all my students in every class I ever did, I showed them lots of different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that they could get like a buffet, like a taste of this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Here's networking. Here's Windows. Here's Linux. Here's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A taste of everything. How do you know you might not really enjoy being a database person?
Listen, you went right into number 2. Evaluate your passion for technology.
Exactly.
Look at us. We look like a bunch of crazed animals.
Yeah.
You were about to say something really important.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I asked him, I was like, yo, Vic, where do I go in life? Like,
Yes.
what do I do in IT, right?
Yes.
He said I have to figure it out for myself. And
Okay.
I learned from his classes that I have the love for networking.
Okay.
And I went into networking.
Got
Networking,
it. So
yeah.
you had a love for networking and you went right into it.
Yeah, but he didn't shove it down my throat like, yo, go.
Yeah, but hold on. Look at you. You're a passionate individual no matter what you do. You're just seem like a... So how do you evaluate your passion? There's a difference